Let's cross to the UK. Joining us is finance entrepreneur and geopolitics expert, Dr. Roger Gewolb. Roger, it's great to speak with you. There's just 3 weeks to go until Brits head to the polls and decide who will be the next Prime Minister. And Reform UK party leader has released this campaign video.
Nigel Farage
has had building rubble thrown at him on the campaign trail in South Yorkshire.
Yeah, well, there we are. So if you go to university, this is what they teach you. Not to have an open debate and disagree, but to shout down. This is so symptomatic of where we are with our politics in this country. Actually, it's terrible.
A new YouGov poll shows that Nigel Farage's Reform UK party is trailing just 1 point behind the Tories, and the poll places Labor at 38%, Tories at 18% and Reform UK at 17%. Roger, how has Nigel Farage been able to gain so much momentum in just a short period of time?
I think that the momentum was there. It was building up tremendously. As people were getting more and more frustrated, I guess is the word I want to use, with Mr. Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer. They're just so bland and boring and stupid and empty and irritating. People just are sick of them and all of the politicians. And they wanted Nigel. A lot of people wanted Nigel, and he hesitated and then made up his mind to come back. So that brought a real groundswell with him. That's number one. But that's, kind of cosmetic, Gabriella. I think more importantly, number two is that what he and Reform are saying makes a hell of a lot more sense than what any of the other parties are saying. And people are starting to pay attention and listen to that. Whether it will get them anywhere because of the tremendous voter apathy, will people still turn out at the polls? Who knows? And also because of our first past the post system, no proportional representation, it's very, very difficult, almost impossible for a party other than the Tories or Labour to get in.
So what can we expect between now and July 4? I suppose, will that momentum keep building? Is that what you expect?
I think the momentum will keep building. I think that that fishy Rishi, 90% with the rest of the Conservatives knows that their goose has been well cooked over 14 years. I think that Starmer and his rather delusional cronies think that they actually have a plan that makes sense and they're going to be able to change the country. I don't think so, but I think, they're pretty confident of getting in. I think that Reform could surprise everybody and take a lot of seats. But then there's an old political saying, which is something always happens at the last moment that's completely unexpected. I don't know what that will be, but it changes things. So we need to keep our eye out for that. But yeah, I think we'll see 3 weeks of frenzied campaign and momentum and more shouting, more and more noise, more and more promises, tax cuts, which aren't really tax cuts. I mean, anything in the world they can think of that might make the voters happy, which they should have said 14 years ago, they will throw out there now, both sides. And what will it produce? Nobody knows. It looks like probably a Labour victory or a hung parliament, but who knows?
What does this movement behind Nigel Farage say about Donald Trump and his chances in November?
Well, I mean, Trump is going strong, and we've got tomorrow to see if the rumors that have been going around for 3 months, not over here or with you, but mainly in the States, that Biden is going to stand down for ill health reasons tomorrow, June 13th, we'll see if that happens. And he's supposed to be replaced by Gavin Newsom, the highly divisive left-leaning governor of California. Will that happen? Won't that happen? Who knows? It's been a very strong rumor that everybody's been talking about. But I think, that won't affect Trump. Newsom can give Trump a run for his money, but I don't think he can beat him. So I think that Nigel will do his job. Reform will get some seats. They won't be a force to reckon with, perhaps. And then Nigel will go off and help Trump. But Nigel, I think, is doing this for the election after this. He wants to build reform into a replacement for the Conservative Party.
Mm. Okay, well, we'll wait and see if those rumours are true. What would that do to the Democrats and their chances if Joe Biden was to stand down?
Well, I think their chances would be a lot better because, they have somebody who is healthier and, dare I say, more compos mentis in place. They have somebody who's going to, at least on the face of it, last the course for the next 4 years. So I think that will give Democratic voters more confidence, because they must be worried about the state of Biden. In the video that's gone viral yesterday with everybody dancing around him and him standing there like he just soiled himself or something. It's, one feels very bad for him. But that would give anybody comfort to see somebody like Newsom step in and be more energetic. So yeah, that'll help their chances.
Okay, well, let's talk about what else is happening in the UK. Right-wing, or Europe, I should say, because right-wing political parties have made significant gains in the European Parliament elections, which has led to French President Emmanuel Macron calling a snap election. Roger, why are more people deciding to lean to the right?
I think that, it's really quite interesting. I think that people in Europe are just sick of the lefty, woke, controlling, ridiculous, red tape way of life under the European Union, and they want out. And it's really quite paradoxical because, the UK, Britain Brexited 4 years ago to get away from that stuff. And the Europeans are now, 400 million. The majority of them voted basically to be Brexiteers and dump all the left climate, net zero, all the rest of this stuff, while Britain is drifting or racing towards total wokeism, mass immigration, open borders, net zero, climate change, transgender. Whatever the Labour people can think of to make themselves popular, it's going the other way. It's just that, as we say in Britain, there's nought so queer as folk. It's amazing. Positions have just flip-flopped. Now, you mentioned Macron, and he's a very good example because he's been very badly beaten by Marine Le Pen's party, and he took a hell of a gamble. He's still young, like Sunak. Sunak knows that he's totally messed everything up, but he's got plenty of money, and he's young and he can go do other things and he'll be fine. And Macron is a bit the same, So he took this gamble saying, look, if you don't give me a mandate, then okay. If you don't, tell me you love me, then good. The difference is that with Macron, with Sunak, he's gone. He's toast. With Macron, he still is there for 3 years. He just sits there as a lame duck. So it was a daring gamble for him to take, but he was basically saying to all these right-wing people, put up or shut up.
I know we just spoke about Joe Biden, and I have to get your thoughts on what has happened to his son, Hunter Biden, who has been found guilty of 3 gun charges. That could see him jailed. Roger, what's your take on the whole situation?
It's fake. It's more of the same Biden Democratic lawfare. Not declaring that you've taken drugs on a form to buy a gun is, a pretty unserious crime in America. And nobody gets jail sentences for that. And it's a trap, and we're all supposed to go, oh, look at that. Justice is real. Oh, they haven't hijacked the American legal system. Oh, look at that. So the Trump convictions must have been honest. There was nothing fishy there, because look, they even put the president's son in the dock and convicted him. Oh, so all that stuff about Trump saying, that's all nonsense. Well, first of all, the trial occurred not in a Manhattan court with a judge, a traffic court judge, and a jury. Everybody else, it was very questionable, in a place where they absolutely hate Trump, and they wouldn't let him change the venue, change the court. Whereas Hunter's case took place in the tiny state of Delaware, which is, would probably fit into the Sunshine Coast, and it's been controlled effectively by the Biden family for generations. So, Joe probably got a phone call. Hey, Joe, Mr. President, do you want guilty or not guilty? It's a fix. It's ridiculous.
So what do you make of the timing of it? Because it comes only a couple of weeks after Donald Trump was found guilty for falsifying business records.
Because it's meant to show you that the Trump convictions are valid, and there was nothing fishy about it, because only a few weeks later, it can go the other way for even the president's son. It's just a very clever ruse, that's all.
There's speculation, as you've alluded to as well, about these gun charges, that they're probably not the most serious charges that should be brought before Hunter Biden.
Exactly, but that's why it's a ruse. In other words, all the stuff in his computer. All right, so there's two things about Hunter, Gabriella. All the stuff in his computer, the alleged pornography, pedophilia, orgies, schmorgies, drugs. And then the other thing about Hunter is the peddling influence for large sums of money alleged to Ukraine, China, Russia. Now, impeachment proceedings are going on for the father, Joe Biden, in Congress about those influence selling and other improprieties, but he hasn't been charged, with any criminal activity yet. So, people they're not buying this, many Americans. This silly little, it's not even a gun charge, it's lying on a form. It's not the most serious thing in the world, when he should be charged for all the rest of this stuff. So what this case, and you're right about the timing, does is it cleverly deflects the attention for all the serious things he's done wrong that he should be prosecuted for, they say. And secondly, it's the coup de grace. It puts the seal on the Trump conviction, saying, oh, don't tell us that we've weaponized the legal system and the court, and it's all crooked, because look what just happened to the president's son. He's just been convicted.
So Americans, as you say, aren't buying it. What does this mean for the election?
Not all Americans, but many Americans, those Americans who, woke up and got out of bed this morning, they're not buying it. And what does it mean for the election? Not a hell of a lot, because, you can't tar Joe Obama Biden with the sins of his son. I'm just reversing the old saying, sins of the father. You can't tar Joe with Hunter's sins. And Hunter hasn't been charged with their joint sins of selling influence, with Joe being at the meetings, being on the phone, all this other stuff to China, Russia, and Ukraine for apparently, allegedly vast sums of money. That's evidence that's being investigated in the impeachment hearings, but that's not a criminal charge in a court of law.
Dr. Roger Gewolb, really appreciate you coming on Power Hour and appreciate all your insight and analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.